Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle Ideas. I am Bill, the company's expert, and this is the weekly live stream where we talk about entrepreneurship and, as the name implies, side hustles, starting a business, all that kind of stuff. If you are looking to tack on another income stream and you're wanting to do it in a very quick and simple way, you've come to the right place. Additionally, if you're looking to get into the world of entrepreneurship and understanding how business works and possibly run your own business someday, then you're also at the right place because we cover the whole thing. So thank you for being here. The title of today's episode is How to Start a Business from Scratch with No Money. And we're going to tackle this today. Some people say it can't be done, but it absolutely can. We're going to get into that and how that works. This is episode 80, and a public service announcement. Special shout out goes to all my YouTube channel members, my Patreons, my super thanks donors, and obviously to my participants. That means you. Thank you for being here. Excellent. Yeah, let's just dive into this. First of all, if you're wondering if it's possible to start a business with no money from ground zero, you absolutely can. Okay, now the obvious example, since you're watching me on YouTube, is a YouTube channel, right? How much money does it cost to have your own YouTube channel? Nothing really, assuming that you have access to the internet and you have some kind of device like a smartphone or a computer or a laptop or something like that. You absolutely can, right? So, you have everything you have there to start a YouTube channel. Now, do I recommend starting a YouTube channel? No, not necessarily. But my point is that there's an obvious example because I know some people say it can't be done. And I know this because I put out polls on this YouTube channel. You can fill in, and most people do, and you get thousands of people filling out these polls. And I ask this question. I say, how much money do you need to start a business or a side hustle? And, the options are $0, $100, $1,000, $10,000. And some people say, $10,000, $100,000, like wrong. You can start it with $0. And that's what you should be trying to do, actually. Unless, of course, you have a glorious, long track record of success at starting businesses and, getting them acquired and all this kind of stuff, then maybe you could shoot a little bit higher. But for everybody just starting out and everybody who is starting out in an industry trying to do a thing they've never done before, and this means probably 99% of you guys, and it would apply to me too if I did this, you want to try and start it for as little money as possible, and you can do it even for $0. Michael is here. Michael says, Hey, Michael, this is an interactive live stream, so if you're seeing my face, you should see a chat box somewhere nearby. Get in the chat box. Let me know your questions. Let me know what you're wondering about, what you're struggling with. We're here to talk about side hustles and entrepreneurship. Let me know what you're dealing with, and I will try and help you out as best as I can. Okay, let's get into this. So, how to start a business from scratch with no money. Now, usually the way people start small businesses, okay, if you're going to do the small business route, is you first think of what you have. What skills do you have? What capabilities do you have, right? I think it's like pretty much every day that you get people in the construction industry, especially the residential construction industry, starting up a business. If you are a trained, certified tradesperson, you have a trade, you can do plumbing, electrical, framing, whatever, concrete work, you're a pipe fitter, et cetera, then if you're working in the industry, it's probably really not that hard to start your own company, right? You just essentially work for yourself, you contract yourself out, and there's very little difference between working for yourself and working, as you would typically work as a tradesperson, right? It seems like you're an employee, you're a contractor, but it feels like you're an employee a lot of times, right? And this is how, for people who don't have a big background in business and don't really want to have a big background in business, this is kind of the starting point for how you would do it. Joe M says, how do you determine what you want to start with? Like, are you talking in terms of money, or are you talking in terms of ideas? you start with what you have, right? So what I'd recommend for everybody is that you learn the absolute basics of business, okay? You learn what an accountant does. You learn what marketing is. You learn the basics of sales, stuff like this, at least the theory behind it, right? Now, you can do this in a couple of days, probably just with some YouTube videos to get the absolute basics, but if you're serious about this, I recommend that you go further and learn it properly. Joe M says, ideas. Well, listen, the thing is the way business works is there's so many options out there that really there isn't like a magical list of stuff that, you should do. Now, if you were to ask like a chat bot or something, what should I do? It would like at the ground zero level to do a side hustle. It would probably say things like walking dogs and drop shipping and, being a tutor or something like that. Like those are things that, a lot of people have the capability right off the bat to do, right? You can do the operations side. So when it comes to walking dogs, you can walk a dog, it's not necessarily a highly skilled thing. Where the challenge is going to lie, it's going to lie in the marketing side, in the sales side. You want to connect to people who would hire you for your dog walking services. That's going to be the challenge, right? So that's kind of a standard model for people like at the absolute ground zero bottom level. You just want to bring in a little extra money every month. You don't care about learning business. You don't have any ambitions to one day go out on your own, run your own company, nothing like that. You're just looking for make a couple of bucks on the side. You start with what do you have? So the tutoring thing is very flexible because whatever you could probably teach it to somebody, right? Whatever it is, even if it's not very specialized knowledge, but maybe you could teach it to people that are slightly younger than you. Like if you're 30, you could probably teach it to 20-year-olds or something like that. Might be useful, right? So those are kind of like very general stuff. Drop shipping, I'm not a big fan of drop shipping, but like that's what everybody says when they talk about starting ideas. I honestly don't think it's worth it, but because you still have the same problem that all these other ones have, which is, the operations side is kind of taken care of. Now you've got to drum up sales. So unless you know a way of drumming up sales, you have that capability. That's where the challenge is going to be, right? So basically you start with two things. You could start with number one, what you have in terms of capabilities or access to things, right? That could be an idea for a side hustle. Or you start with what you're interested in, what your passion is. Okay, maybe you don't have something right now, but you're really interested in it, you're really passionate about it, and that can give you certain advantages. You will persist and you will learn quickly and, this kind of thing. So those are usually the two starting points. Now, for a lot of people, there's basically two types of entrepreneur, if I can use that term for someone who's just starting a side hustle. There are people who are strong at operations, but the challenge is going to be sales, like I mentioned. And then you get the opposite. You get people who are, they are more the extroverted types. They know a lot of people. They can easily talk to a lot of people and do the sales part. But the challenge for them is doing the operations part, having something to sell, right? So that's that's kind of how that works. And I've worked with both types of entrepreneur in my experience, and they have quite interesting quirks, on each side. So I'm guessing that most people here watching me on the internet doing this are probably more of the introverted type. You might have a lot of capabilities, a lot of knowledge, but it's probably the sales/marketing side that's going to be the challenge for you. Okay. So what I'd recommend is before you start, learn the basics of marketing. Okay. You can learn it from a variety of places, right? I mean, of course, I have my course, right? The $100 MBA. I highly recommend that you get that course if you're serious about doing this. Best bang for the buck ever. That'll teach you everything you need to know about business. And then the rest is just, learning about your particular industry and your particular situation. SS says, I didn't schedule this. Glad I dropped in. Well, thank you, SS. Hopefully you're getting something out of this. So yeah, that's what I would say about this. Now, in terms of side hustle ideas, I don't like to give lists of ideas, because if people are giving out lists of ideas, it's almost like the stock market. They give like their hot picks, right? It's like by the time it's somebody's hot pick, it's no longer a hot pick because the secret's out, right? And everybody's already gotten in, and you're going in with all the cattle, right? So what is a good side hustle for you would be something that you have the capability of doing, hopefully that you're somewhat interested in doing, because it's not going to be super fun all the time. There's going to be a little bit of work involved, and it helps if you're passionate about the thing that you're doing. Okay, so that will help push you through those moments in the beginning, right? So you get to the part where you're making money, right? So you would start by going inside and looking at what you have. What do you have that other people could possibly be interested in? And everyone's going to have something here, even if it's just life experience, even if it's some kind of advice, right? Most people, it'll go beyond advice. You can actually help people accomplish things, right? You can solve certain problems for people. For example, let's say you you did something. You bought a car, you had some issues with it. You had to deal with it. You had to learn all about cars. You had to learn all about garages. You had to learn all about that landscape, which mechanic is good, which mechanic isn't, this kind of thing. Maybe you modified your car. Maybe you traded cars in, or maybe you auctioned cars and all this. You got cars for cheap. So it's like you could easily package that and say, like, I'm a sort of consultant. So if you're thinking of getting a new car, or leasing a car, buying a car, just come in for like, a $20 consultation, and I'll make sure that you avoid a lot of the pitfalls that it's possible to fall into doing this. Okay, it helps to have someone with some experience on your team to sort of steer you in the right direction. Everyone will have capability similar to that because you've done some stuff, right? In addition, if you know how to work with your hands, if you know the world of arts and crafts, or the world of skilled trades, or the world of solving problems or creating something, custom solutions for something, there's something to investigate there. Could you package that and sell it? Are there people out there that could benefit from your knowledge and capabilities? Right? So these are all exercises to do to try and figure out what you could do, right? Alternatively, are you already connecting to people in certain circles? Let's say you're, you're a soccer mom, and you go and you meet all the other parents in a certain area, and, you go to community events or whatever. You're in that world, and you know lots of people. You can be a connector, or you can sort of just talk to people and see, what are some of their problems? What are they wishing they had? And those would be ideas for something you can do. Now, the reason why I suggest that is because then you have your built-in market right there. If you actually had the solutions to what these people are looking for, you could then go and try and sell it to all these people. You already know who they are, and they're looking for it. So these are exercises to do to try and figure out what ideas there are for you that might be viable. Hopefully that makes sense. There are 36 people here. Thank you for joining me today. Get in the chat. Let me know what's up with you, what you're wondering. And I'll be happy to help you out. While we're waiting for questions, I just want to say once again, check out that course. You want to learn business? You want to learn the secrets to making money yourself directly without some intermediary like an employer, right? They're all in there. Take an MBA. And that's the best bang for the buck around. There are some industries where this is very, very common. People sort of can work as an employee providing services, or they could just found their own company and provide their services through their company, through their one-person company, be a contractor. online. I know there's a ton of websites and things that offer this. I don't know the names because I don't really dwell in that world, but there's what's the one that where you can do writing services for free? Something like that. Or the equivalent of consultation for is it Fiverr? You could go and do something for $5, right? There's all that kind of thing. Jan says, should I quit my job if I make decent money but I'm miserable? Okay, so this has nothing to do with side hustles or entrepreneurship. I'm taking it. Normally we don't talk about that here. This is more about entrepreneurship and side hustles, but well, it depends how miserable you are, John and JN, and it depends on the cause of the misery. And I'm not a therapist, but I would say if you're miserable, before you do anything that's going to hurt you, like quitting your job, what I would say would be maybe try and work on the whole why you're miserable thing and see if it's possible to fix it. I know that seems self-evident, but maybe you've done a token effort. You've maybe had a problem with people at work, so you go and talk to them, but it didn't work out, so you just gave up, and then you just stayed miserable. Maybe there's other things you can do. I would exhaust those first before you jump ship. Jan says, well, eventually I'd want to go into side hustles. Well, okay, it's a side hustle if it's a sideline, right? If you have a day job. If you don't have a day job, it's not really a side hustle anymore. It's your main line, right? So then you become an entrepreneur. Now, what I'd recommend to everybody is do a side hustle first, especially if this is your first time doing anything like this. Go and, you have your day job, so you've got a source of income, right? You have some type of stability there going on. That's good, right? Now, before you throw that away, which could be, really risky, start up something on the side and learn it and make sure it's successful. And personally, if it were me, I would not quit your day job until your side hustle is making sort of the same amount of money as your day job. That can be a pretty tall order. If you're younger, you don't have a family, you don't have big financial responsibilities, then maybe you could sort of do it a bit sooner. If you're older, you have a family, you have other responsibilities, then I would do it a bit later, right? That's a problem people look forward to, is having sort of a side hustle that's making money, and then they're thinking, should I quit my job yet? Don't quit until you can live off your side hustle. Then, if you can, then you can quit. At least I would say you could probably get away with quitting, depending on details. SS says, I wonder what business course I can study to bring a very beautiful art that is too niche in one country and bring attention to it in other markets like the USA, Shudder, LOL, Europe, Australia. What are some example side hustles that don't have substantial barrier? Okay. So for SS, now when you say very beautiful art, are you talking literally about art? You want to do art and you want to sell it? Okay. It's possible to break into that world, but you have to be in that world. It's very hard to break into industries from the outside. You have to, unless you're doing some Joe Schmo thing that everybody wants, like tutoring or dog walking, you need to be inside the industry to know what to do. Okay. So if you are literally talking about the art world, get on the inside of it. Network with the people in the art world, go to all the events, go and talk to all the players, on a local level, certainly, and start inserting yourself into it. Okay. And then as you talk to people and as you see how things work, you will gradually form an idea eventually of like what plan you should adopt, what should work in this particular environment. Okay. You don't sit on the sidelines outside the art world and looking in and then try and formulate a plan and say, oh, this is going to work. Usually like 99.9% of the time, that doesn't work. You have to get into it. Okay? People have to know you. You have to be a regular, on that scene. And you have to be close to the money. So wherever the money is in this art thing that you're trying to do, go there, get to know the people, talk to the people, learn how everything works. A great way to go in is to offer to help someone. Like instead of going in and asking people to do you a favor, asking for them to help you, you go in and you offer to help them. Okay, like here, I'll work for you for free. Or do you need an extra hand in your next event doing this? Like I'd like to volunteer if that's possible. And that way people will kind of welcome you in more. And then once you're on the inside of working with these people, then you can really see what goes on behind the scenes, how things work. And as I say, be close to the money. There's no use doing this to people there's no money in what they're doing. They're like hungry like you. They're kind of hoping to make it like you. Go to the people that have got it made. Right? Does that help? Something like that. That I know that people don't like hearing that because it's like that involves it sounds intimidating, even though it really isn't. But it involves a bit of work and they don't like hearing that. But hopefully that makes sense. JN says, what are some example side hustles that don't have substantial barriers to entry? Oh, how much time do you have? Like I told you, I just said 5 minutes ago, I don't give out long lists of these things. You have to come up with your own. Okay? But I'm telling you what to do to find something that will work for you. Okay? So, pretty much selling almost anything. You can get into that with zero money by going and doing the sales and marketing component first before you worry about the operation side. That's something I've talked about on this channel quite extensively, right? You know how Amazon works or any store. You go and you order something, you pay for it, and then they send it to you later through the mail, right? You have to pay up front, and then you're allowed to walk out of the store with it, right? So that's the model that you employ. So what you do is you go to a group of potential customers, right? Prospects, and you say, hello, I've got this thing. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it does. Here's how much it costs. And here's how you order one. Now, does anybody want any? Right? Now, if nobody's interested, that tells you there might be something wrong with your pitch or your idea. If you get people lining up to give you their money, they order it, they say, okay, I'll take 2. Right? And you got several orders coming in on the first day where they're paying up front for this thing that you say, hey, I can do this, I can give you this, I can send it to you, right? Now, if nobody orders it, the idea dies there. Like it doesn't affect anything. If 10 people order it for the price that you quoted, and assuming that the price is a realistic price, you could make this thing or deliver this service for that price if there were buyers, right? Then you're in business. You've got the money rolling in. Now you just have to fill the orders, right? So now you start providing the service or you start providing the product or whatever it is you're selling, right? So that's a way to get up and running with essentially zero money. You have to invest your time, you risk your time being wasted, but that's a way to sell most things or almost anything without having to create it first. And in fact, that's the approach I would seriously look at, when it comes to anything that you're wanting to do. Right? It's that whole prepay thing, right? Because not only does it validate that there is demand for this, and so it's worth your while to start creating it, but it also gives you your source of startup capital. You're getting it from sales, from pre-sales, right? So now you have the capital, the money to pay for supplies and materials and whatever it is, whatever you need to get up and running. Guido says, what would you recommend for someone very capable in manual labor, my dad, but getting quite old who is looking to build a side hustle? He tends to struggle with the administrative side. Okay, well, listen. Like the first thing I would think of is, yes, your dad could obviously work as a laborer, I suppose, but hopefully there's something more upscale than that. You say he struggles with administration, but does he have knowledge? Can he be like, someone who's wise, who can impart advice, can be a consultant, can be a person that could facilitate some kind of work. So he doesn't have to do the manual labor, but maybe he's connected to a bunch of young 20-year-olds that can provide the manual labor, and he can coordinate it, or he can make a plan, or he can sort of be a project manager and sort of call them and book them and get them to go to a certain place and do a certain task, and he's there to oversee it, and he's there to train people, like all that kind of stuff. Essentially be a project manager or a consultant. Like, does he have any of those capabilities? If he's old, I'm sure he's seen a few things in his time, right? He knows a few shortcuts. He knows how to get things done. He knows who to call. If he has those capabilities, I would look at that being the selling point rather than sort of just having him be a laborer, if possible. Let's see here. Someone named Jay. Okay. Hi, sir. Please advise. I quit my job. Tried communicating with difficult team member, but no luck. It was mentally crippling and have been applying like crazy. Okay, well, are you talking about getting jobs? Okay, we're talking about side hustles and entrepreneurship. I do a live stream in an hour and a half where we talk about that stuff. SS says, okay. Smiley says, started a small business on Turo, okay, car sharing, and facing some cash flow challenges. Tried line of credit, but didn't get approved as all cars financed under my personal name. My mistake, okay. Okay, that sucks. Yeah, like this is the thing. You try and not go into the red if you could possibly help it. I don't know what your options are. It's kind of hard when you've got like, we're maxed out. Now I need help. And it's like, well, there's not too much you can do unless you're wanting to like sell the car or something. You know what I mean? I don't have enough details to really help you get out of that one. Sorry about that, Smiley. Jeremy Mitchell says nothing. Guido says he knows a lot, but he has problems trusting other people, so he always preferred doing it himself. Okay, so this was the manual labor dad thing. He has problems trusting other people, so he always preferred doing it. Yes, I know the type, and I can relate to that. However, we're talking about selling your capabilities. Now, I mean, hey, if he can do things himself, if he's got capabilities himself, and he's okay doing that, he can become his own self-contractor and just be a subcontractor and work that way. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? But it depends on what he can do. Like that's how you know what to do, is you look at what you have. So if you have knowledge, you can turn that into a business. If you have, so like as an advisory kind of thing, or a consultative type of thing. Alternatively, if you have capabilities, then you turn that into money, into a business by offering services, right? Like you do the actual thing yourself, right? And you can obviously combine them. So you get sort of my expertise, plus I can do certain things myself in-house, right? So, I mean, you can always turn that into a business. So whatever you can do, you can turn that into a business. The only stumbling block is going to be, the only challenge is going to be, do you know what market? Do you know potential customers? And can you contact the potential customers? And do you know what message to send the potential customers? Those are kind of the three questions, right? So with knowledge and with capabilities, you could spin it any way you want and provide any service you want. In order to know what to do, it sometimes helps to know what the demand is, right? So that's the other reason for doing the sales thing first, right? Is because say you could do more than one thing. You could do 5 different things. How do you know which one you should promote and which one you should actively pursue? Well, you go to your target market. and you get to know them and you talk to them and you see like what is in demand, you know? So that's kind of the first step to know what to do. You have to figure out, you know, where the demand is. You have to validate these ideas. JN says, do you offer one-on-one coaching? Not really, sorry. I mean, I do for businesses. I'm a management consultant. I do that kind of for businesses as my main thing, but not really for you on YouTube. Like, this is kind of what I do. I do the live streams as a way to sort of, it's like a cheap substitute for that. I don't offer coaching, but I mean, I have courses. If you're wanting to learn business, as I say, check that out. That's the thing to get from me. It's all the knowledge. That's where you can learn what you would learn in a master's degree in business, you know, just for like literally $100. And if you're wondering what the catch is that it's like a self-study thing, right? So you get textbooks, the same textbooks they use in some of the best universities in the world, and you read it yourself. And it's actually, if you've got high school, you can read these textbooks. It's really not that hard. You know, now if you just want to skim it, that's fine. And, you know, if you're doing a side hustle, you probably will just want to skim it. But if you want to go in depth to certain topics or certain subjects, then you certainly can. And you can master that. Or at least you could learn it to the depth that they learn in a master's degree. Okay, so that's what I recommend. Now, there's a link in the description if you want to check that out. So I don't offer coaching, but I do have that. Someone named Jay says, I'll be back. I'll check it out. We have been watching your videos, interviews, which are encouraging, but I need to get to the darn interview. So as I say, in an hour and a half, I do a collaborative. Today I'm doing a collaborative live stream this afternoon, like in an hour and a half, with another YouTuber who is a recruiter. So we're answering questions from the public, from you guys, and you're getting sort of her perspective as a former recruiter, and you're getting my perspective as a business guy. And she can speak to more about how to get around recruiters because she has firsthand experience on understanding what they do all day and stuff. I'm coming from the experience of hiring recruiters and dealing with them and the networking, like where all the real jobs are, where 80% of the jobs are in the hidden job market, how you get a job through networking, how you tap that, and how introverts can do it. Right? So that's what I talk about. That's where I'm coming from. And I mean, we don't really talk about it here, but if you are interested in that sort of thing, that's this course right here. I put all that knowledge into there. If you're looking to tap networking and stuff, and you're an introvert, I show you exactly how to do that. D. Snyder. Hey, I remember D. Snyder. Says, hey, buddy. Hey, D. How is Twisted Sister? Please tell me they're still together and kicking it live. Yeah, get in the chat. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, side hustles, that kind of thing, escaping the employment trap. In a way, it's a trap. It certainly is a trap for some people where, you know, you generate a lot of value, but in order to convert that value into hard, cold cash, you have to go through an employer, right? They deal with turning your value into cash for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But they generate this much cash, and they give you that much in your pay, right? Now, for some people, they want to make more money, so they want to learn how to turn their own value into cash directly, without an intermediary that takes a massive cut, right? You know, that's one reason to learn business. Another reason is that maybe, you know, you're a bit of a nonconformist. Maybe you want to go your own way in life. You want to start a company. You have ideas of what to do. And I was young, like about 1 million years ago, and I remember how that feels. You got your own ideas. You got your own thoughts about what should exist and how things should be done, you know, and you want to do it that way. And you want to found a company, create something, have it be a success. It's not just the source of your fortune or your income, but it's also a source of your validity, your creative ideas that you see come to fruition. You know, starting a business can be an extremely creative thing. And it's great to see an idea you have that you develop and it makes money for you. It's success on a couple of different levels at once, you know? So, you know, it's a great experience. And I mean, even as a manager, I preferred employees that had entrepreneurial experience. The downside to entrepreneurial experience is that if you hire entrepreneurs, you never really know where their loyalties lie. That's the downside. But the upside is that these are highly capable people. They make business decisions very, very well because they understand what business is about. They've tried to do things on their own. And so they understand the challenges and they understand what's really important and what kind of isn't, you know? So when they make decisions as an employee, they tend to make good decisions, you know? So it's a great thing to have. Somebody who I'm very sorry, I can't pronounce your name. I'm not going to try. Says, is it morally okay to just copy a successful business model completely? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know why? Because they copied off someone else. Now, when you study this stuff, long story short, when you study this stuff, you realize that there's extremely few truly original ideas out there. There's like you might think like, okay, what, 99% of companies are copying and maybe 1% of companies are like truly original? Wrong. It's like at least another order of magnitude. It's probably not even 0.1% of companies are doing something truly original. Everybody's copying. Everybody's doing something that's been done before. You don't need to be original to make money. You know, sometimes being original works against you because it's risky. If no one's done something before, you don't know if it's going to work. However, if 35 people you know have done this exact thing and they all made $1 million with it, then it's far more assured that this is a winning plan, right? So you see how that encourages a lack of originality. Think of like real estate. Think of agriculture. I mean, these aren't exactly original industries thriving on radical new ideas. These are very, very, you know, traditional. People need food. You grow food in a field. Sure, the tools change and the methods change over the years, but basically it's the same. I worked in the railroad for 8 years of my life when I was starting out. And, you know, the railroad's been around for 150 years. It's going to be around for another 150 years probably. You know, not a lot of original thinking there. So don't worry too much about like, oh no, I'm borrowing an idea that technically part of it isn't mine. Don't worry about that. You're fine. Okay. Now you cross the line at like, you know, trademarks like names and things like that, right? But just ideas, open season. And it's never really the same because you doing an idea is not the same as somebody else doing an idea, right? The person doing it is different. You're going to have a different style. You're going to have different strengths and weaknesses. You're going to be in a slightly different situation. So it's never really the same idea. It's not the same thing. There are variables changing. Jayan says, how does the side hustle pursuit change if you do have money? Okay, well, first of all, if you do have money, you're probably not going to want to open a babysitting business or a dog walking business, right? You know what I mean? Like if you have $1 million in the bank or in investments, you're not going to want to like do all this work just to make like, you know, an extra $100 a month, right? So obviously the scale goes up, right? Now, it's interesting that you brought that up because this week I'm premiering a new live stream because I don't do enough live streams. I'm premiering a new live stream. It's going to be on Friday and it's called Private Equity Rundown, where we talk about private equity. And if you don't know what that is, that's fine. Not many people do. It's the people who buy businesses and fix them up and then sell them. Almost like Flip This House, but for businesses. Now, I like certain elements of that world. I don't like the whole like, you know, let's make a quick buck and let's flip things. But I do like the whole like, let's trim the fat, let's get this thing working properly, let's try and evaluate what the element of value is in a business. I like that stuff. Mergers and acquisitions, all that kind of stuff. I like that world. And I like those concepts. So I'm going to be doing a regular live stream starting on Friday called Private Equity Rundown. And we're going to be talking about this exact thing, because the people that do private equity tend to be higher net worth individuals that can invest in some of these funds and things. It's not really open to most middle class people. It's open to sort of like higher middle class or upper class people that do this kind of thing. So if you have money, you'd be doing things like that, right? And it's a way for you to own businesses without having to worry about running them, right? When you really have money, you don't run businesses, you own them. That's usually how it works. It's people that don't have the money to own businesses that are the ones running it. I know, I used to be a CEO. So a CEO, you're basically running the business on behalf of the owner, right? You don't own the company. Somebody else does, and they hired you and they put you in charge of one of their companies, you know? So you report to them, right? You're running it for them, and they're your boss. So if you have money, generally you're in that world. So check out that. I'm a bit nervous. I really don't know what I'm going to talk about. It's just going to be all news. So come and join me on Friday for that. Where do we leave off here? So hopefully that makes sense, JN. Smile to Life says, I'll graduate in a year from university, and I'm really wondering if I shall fully go for a job or freelance. It seems to me that the best plan is to get a job, get some money, then be better at freelancing. Here's what I would say. Okay, Smile to Life. I kind of envy you, actually. That's a very exciting time in your life. And unfortunately, I think most people, they don't feel like it's very exciting. Maybe they've got worries about the future. Maybe they have worries about money. I need to get a job. It's very scary. It's very intimidating. But it really is magic to be at that age and have all these possibilities before you. Now, without really knowing you, here's my sort of general advice. What is usually a good idea is, if you're interested in something, presumably you went to university to learn a certain thing, right? And hopefully you're interested in that thing, whatever that area is. Go and see if you can get a job in it, okay? Now, coming out of university with no experience, it's always a challenge. It's always been a challenge. Sometimes there are companies that hire like young kids right out of school, and they make it a point to do that. So they don't care that you don't have any experience in that industry. They'll hire you anyway. In which case, a lot of them, you know, they do kind of exploit you a bit, because that's the trade-off. They'll give you a job, but you know, they get you for cheap, kind of thing. You still make good money. You're probably going to make more money than you ever have in your life so far, but it's not as much as you could make. It's not as much as the value you're generating. But do that anyway for like 1 or 2 years to get on the inside of whatever industry this is. Learn a bit about how it works. And then if you do want to be like a freelance or have your own business in that industry, it really, really helps having been on the inside of that industry, where you've networked, you've met all the people that, you know, all the decision makers that can, like, you know, sign huge contracts with contractors like yourself, you know, things like it's great to have gone in there, seen how they do everything, learn all the players, network with all the people, and then come out, start your own business, take advantage of all the networking you've done. You call up people you worked with. Hey, I provide this service. You know what we did for you as part of the company? I provide that service as a freelance now. The advantage is that you can use me, you know, for like surplus here and there when you need it, you know. I do good work because we work together, you know, blah, 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 right? Think of something like that. That's probably a great way to do it. And learn to do informational interviews with people in your industry. That's where you reach out to people like on LinkedIn and stuff. Not people low down, but people high up. And people that you aspire to be, okay? And learn how to do an informational interview, learn how to reach out to them. I cover all that in my course, by the way. And you can really learn the ins and outs. You can get like recommendations and advice from people that are in the position where you aspire to be. And it can really help. And also you make friends in high places along the way. So that helps too. Right? So it's a really magical time. I really envy you, Smile to Life. Best of luck. Guido says, do you think some high-paying jobs make building a business basically pointless from a financial view? No. Many old NVIDIA devs, okay, so you're talking about IT, I guess, became millionaires just by getting lots of stocks on top of their salary. Let me ask you something. The fact that Elon Musk exists, doesn't that just make working at a regular job irrelevant? Shouldn't we all just quit our day jobs now because someone has managed to make, $1 trillion by owning companies, Go out and try that. See how it works for you. The problem with that type of thinking, Guido, is that you're technically correct. However, you are quoting, as an example or as a model, you're quoting a wild exception to the rule. Because most developers are not in the situation you've just explained. You are correct that some of them, these people, certainly were, and others too. But it was luck that brought them there. People like to look back and say, oh, it was all part of a master plan. I was that smart, you see. I was in exactly the right place at exactly the right time with exactly the right skills. I knew exactly the right people, and now I'm here and I cleaned up. The vast majority of people that claim that are suffering from hindsight bias. At the time, it was far from a sure thing, and it was far from, other people supporting you in that plan. A lot of people didn't see it that way. And just from the roll of the dice, it just worked out that way. And, you made it. Great. We all have small versions of those in our lives, and we all have the opposite of it, where things just turn to crap, right? And if you learn about finance, you will understand how these things work, because finance is basically the study of risk and return. And you understand the risks involved and how you look at investments. And you look at it through the eyes of random chance. You look at it as expected return and variance. And the variance is based on history, but it's far from accurate. So I would really caution anyone from making a plan based on an inspirational story of one person or one data point. Like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these people that had incredible wealth. They do succeed. You're absolutely right. And other people in the future will succeed to that degree, certainly, maybe even more. But they are the wild exception. If you model yourself on them, expecting the series of events that happened to them to happen to you, statistically, the odds are wildly against that happening. Okay? And that's why building a business has not gone out of style. In fact, there's more activity founding business now than ever before. So it's not pointless. But you know what? Go out and prove me wrong. And time will tell. Ghost says, my favorite ex is a hedge fund manager. His completely different world is filled with billionaires, so I'm agreeing with the huge differences between realms. Obviously, I'm not within his realm. Yeah, well, you stick close to the money and you can get a piece of the pie. That's usually how that works. That's a little bit above me. I've met one billionaire who hired me I did one job interview in my life with a billionaire and who hired me. And that was interesting. I don't know if all billionaires are like that, but if they are, they're an odd bunch of people, let me tell you. Hedge fund, you see, hedge fund stuff is even over above what I'm talking about when I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm premiering a new live stream on Friday this week called Private Equity Rundown, where I'm going to be talking about private equity. Hedge fund stuff is a little bit above private equity. It's kind of more of a flip. You're into a company, you invest in a company, and then you do some stuff, and then you're out very quickly, right? It's like a very fast flip. Private equity, they at least go in, they like manage the company for a few years, and then they're out, So there's an opportunity to actually improve it, that's my sort of area of interest. Anyway, we're not really talking about side hustles, but it's interesting anyway. Smile to Life says, thank you very much. We'll look into informational interviews. Really appreciate the help. Best of luck to you, Smile to Life. It's a magical time. I wish you all the luck in the world. And if you ever need, if you ever need a question answered or something, come back. Guido says, good point. My grandpa is wealthy just by working a regular job 40 years and buying lots of houses. Wouldn't work today. Okay, well, hey, if he's at that level, I mean, just from the description you gave me, it's pretty clear that he shouldn't need to be doing manual labor. You know what I mean? You should obviously shoot a little bit higher than that. If he's been buying a bunch of houses and maybe fixing them up or whatever he's been doing, like, he really seems like he'd be in a position to advise or to oversee, and that's probably, I'd imagine, what you would want to do when you get up there in age, You know what I mean? It really does depend on being able to work with people. So, listen, even some of us hardcore introverts, it is possible to learn some basic rules and put them into practice that makes you good at interacting with people. It really is, Like, for example, I learned, in my late 20s or something, that in order to interact with people, you should be friendly, because that didn't come natural to me. I'd just be kind of neutral, and I just give it to somebody straight. Like, here's what's going on. And it would be gruff. It would be tactless, and you weren't winning a lot of friends by interacting with people like that. And I learned, one of the first things I learned was just be a little bit more pleasant and friendly. And, if you're delivering bad news or if you're being brutally honest, you can still be brutally honest, but you need to be super polite. You need to say a bunch of extra things to, for the sake of people's feelings, so they don't regard you as the enemy and they don't go away thinking you're a jerk. They accept your message, like, okay, this didn't work. This bad thing has happened, right? But they don't go away thinking this bad thing has happened and Bill is a jackass and he is not my friend and he doesn't want me to succeed. At least they feel like, okay, I'm not responsible for this. I would prefer that you succeeded and I prefer this to work out, and I'm with you if you need help, which is the reality. It's just that it wasn't being conveyed. So that was some of the earliest lessons I learned in dealing with people. If you tack a couple of those on, even if you're 60, 70 years old, it's still not too late. You can still go and get that stupid business book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, it's got such a retarded name, but it really is good. There's a reason why that book has never gone out of print since 1930 or whenever they wrote it. Get that book, and it's all about that stuff. And you come away with it with just a vibe of how to deal with people. So if that helps, if that's what's standing in the way of your dad being some kind of high-level, awesome advisor and coordinator that could kick ass, tack that on, and it could really be a very wonderful, profitable thing. Your grandpa, sorry, not your dad, your grandpa. My friend there with the name says, do you think tutoring businesses are the easiest and no-risk business can be started from scratch? You can start them from scratch. It's no risk in the sense that you shouldn't really have to spend any money doing it. It might be risky in that, it might be disappointing. It might be a waste of time, but it's certainly not risky in the sense of risking money. It's not financially risky. The challenge is, for most people, the challenge is the sales part, right? You have to sell your tutoring services, right? So that could be as simple as going to a university or something and pinning up on the cork board or the equivalent of doing that, just saying I can help you pass this course, by teaching you, if it's math or, whatever, I can teach you and work with you, to learn this material, something like that. right? Like maybe it's just that simple, or maybe it's more involved, right? But even if it was that just that simple, you would have to still be able to do that, Go down to the school, know the course, know where they meet, know where the students are looking on whatever corkboard or whatever online thing they're looking at. Talk to the instructor. Maybe say, hey, I offer tutoring services. I can help some of your students if they need a little extra help. If the students are looking to go in that direction as, a paid tutor, do you mind, just mentioning this little clip? It's like my name and my email address or, whatever, right? Like that little ad. You could try that. Some professors or some teachers will say yes. Other ones will say no. It's about learning that stuff, right? That's going to be the challenge. Guido says, Grandpa's wealthy, not my dad. My dad used to frown upon people who go a regular route. Yeah. Well, I applaud your dad. It's good to go your own way. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's advantages in both, but there's also drawbacks in both too. But I think the most interesting people are the ones that go their own way. I went my own way, so obviously I'm biased in doing that. Milky Drop says, great book. It seems cheesy because of the title, but the advice is still relevant. Yeah, it is. I didn't like it. I didn't read it for many years because you hear the title and you think it's like, oh, that's just so slimy. You're going to teach me to be some kind of, slimy used car salesman type person, like all talk and ingratiating but really slimy and not like saying one thing but thinking another. It's like that. That's what the title to me suggested, and so I didn't read it until I was quite old. And but obviously that's not what the book is about at all. It's about being nice, and it's about how if you've got a lot of charisma and you know how to talk to people, you understand etiquette, you understand manners, and you're tuned in to the other person's sort of their feelings and stuff, so they want to deal with you and they enjoy dealing with you. It really does open doors. Imagine if everyone you talk to, after spending a minute with you, they wanted to work with you and they enjoyed interacting with you and they wanted to do it more. Imagine the effect that would have. That's what that book is about. So check it out. It's if you're just come in, I'm talking about the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So check that out. I have absolutely no skin in the game and I have no interest. I'm not related to that book at all, but go check it out. Just some advice. That's young people, old people, whatever industry you're in, whether you're an employee or you're some kind of entrepreneur, read that book. Your career will thank you for doing it. Well, it's been an hour. We've reached the end of the chat. There's 36 people here. Thank you for joining me today. Didn't get too far into the whole how to start a business from scratch with no money, but that's fine because we answered several questions on it. So if you have any final questions, ask them now, and I will answer before I sign off in a few minutes if I don't get anything. I will be back in 1 hour with another live stream. Like I said earlier, it's a collaborative live stream between myself and Abby from the YouTube channel Life Work Balance. Abby is a ex-recruiter, and we're going to be answering questions like this together live. This will be live on my channel and on her channel. And if you have questions related to jobs or careers or getting hired and all that kind of stuff, check it out and ask some questions, and we'll do our best to answer you. And I like it because you get my perspective and you get somebody else's perspective also, usually answering the same question. So, that's, I think that's a really cool thing. So hopefully you guys do too. Guido says, love your live streams. Keep it coming. Well, thank you, Guido. Yeah. So come back on Friday for Private Equity Rundown. I'm going to start very basic, and we're gonna work our way up. And I wanted to incorporate ChatGPT into the live stream. And so I wanted to try and use the private equity rundown as a guinea pig to do that. So I'm probably going to start it off with, me talking to ChatGPT, like with the interactive voice interface, just to sort of as an intro. And then we get into questions and cover topics and stuff like that. No idea if anyone's going to show up for that, but because I don't know how many people are interested in private equity, but we'll find out. So yeah, so listen, if you are thinking of starting a business, or you're thinking of starting a side hustle, which is a great way of getting into the world of entrepreneurship and possibly becoming a business owner one day, if that's where you want to go with it. It's a great way to do it where you don't quit your day job, you don't take a lot of risk. All you do is you risk your time being wasted. But if you're learning, is your time really being wasted? I'll leave that one up to you. If you learn a whole bunch of stuff but don't make any money, is it really a waste? Well, maybe not entirely, right? So I wish you all the best of luck. And I will be back next week at this time with another episode of Side Hustle Ideas. In the meantime, check out that course. If you want to learn business, that's the thing to do. It's all the stuff you learn in university, but like for what, 1% of the price? Something like that, 2% of the price. Incredible value. So check that out. There's a link in the description box. And I provide videos guiding you through the whole thing. So there you go. I will see you guys in an hour, where I'll be back with a collaborative live stream with me and Abby. It's called Career Expert Roundtable. We'll see you then. Thanks very much. Take care, guys.